Let me tell you a story. It's a story about a silence that fell over the entire digital world for weeks. A quiet so deep that nobody even noticed it was there. This is the story of how everything we trust, our banks, our governments, our private conversations, was brought to the very edge of a cliff. And it's the story of a crime so perfect, a plot so patient, that it was only discovered by the purest, wildest stroke of luck. A ghost in the machine that left behind just a single inexplicable clue.
So where does a mystery like this even begin? Well, it doesn't start with a bang, but with a whisper. A puzzle. I want you to imagine you're a detective, standing in a room where a terrible crime is about to happen, but the only thing that seems out of place is a single grain of sand on the floor. That's what we have here. A delay. A moment of digital hesitation, so incredibly small, so insignificant, that it should have just disappeared into the noise of the internet forever. But it didn't.
This is it. This is the only clue. 500 milliseconds, half of 1 second. That's the time it takes for a hummingbird to beat its wings about 40 times. A programmer, a guy named Freund, was just doing his job, working on something completely unrelated, when he noticed this tiny, stubborn lag. Now, most people would have just shrugged, blamed it on a network glitch and moved on, but he couldn't let it go. Something felt deeply, fundamentally wrong. It was a half second of silence that was practically screaming at him, and he had the really unsettling feeling that he was the only person in the world who could hear it.
And you see, the man who saved the internet wasn't some government agent or a famous cyber sleuth. He was an engineer, a craftsman who just cared deeply about his work. He was like a master carpenter who, while walking through a grand cathedral, feels a single floorboard give just ever so slightly under his foot. It's a flaw no one else would ever notice, but his refusal to simply step over it, his decision to get on his knees, pull up that board, and see what darkness lay beneath, that is the only reason we are not living in a much, much darker world today.
So to really understand why a half-second lag could be a sign of total doom, we need to understand the world where it happened. We need to look at the very foundations of the internet. We have to see the beautiful, chaotic, and, dangerously fragile system that we've all built our modern lives on. A world built not of steel and concrete, but of code given away for free, held together by the passion and the exhaustion of unpaid volunteers.
Believe it or not, the story of our digital world begins with a jammed printer. I'm serious. Back in the 1980s, a programmer named Richard Stallman got so frustrated that he couldn't fix his office printer because the company kept the software code a secret, that he started a revolution. He called it free software. Not free like free beer, but free as in freedom. The freedom to see the code, to change it, to share it. This radical idea gave birth to the Linux operating system, a massive project built by a global community of volunteers. And if you fast forward to today, that little volunteer project runs, everything. Every single supercomputer, billions of phones, the systems that guide nuclear submarines, your TV, the stock market. Our entire civilization is balanced on this beautiful idea that was born from one man's frustration with a broken printer. And right here, we find the fatal flaw at the heart of this beautiful dream. The promise of open source, it's called Linus's law, is that with millions of people looking at the code, any mistake will be found quickly. Its strength is its openness, right? But the reality is quite different. While the big, glamorous projects get all the attention, the essential plumbing, the millions of lines of code for boring, unsexy tools that hold everything together, they're often maintained by just one person. One person working for free after their real job is done, who is one bad day, one moment of burnout away from just walking away forever.
Meet Lasse Collin. For nearly 2 decades, Lasse was the quiet, unpaid guardian of a small but vital piece of this digital plumbing called XZ. And for years, Lasse was being systematically broken. He was worn down by this chorus of anonymous accounts, fake online personalities created just to make him feel like he was failing the community that depended on him. They told him he was too slow, that he was a bottleneck, that he was letting everybody down. He was already struggling with his mental health, and this constant, manufactured pressure was just grinding him into dust. He was at his breaking point.
And just as Lasse was about to collapse, a light appeared in the darkness, a contributor calling themselves Gia Tan. Gia was everything Lasse and the project needed, competent, fast, and so eager to help. Gia Tan took on all the thankless work, fixed the bugs, and slowly, meticulously, over many, many months, earned Lasse Collin's trust. Eventually, Gia offered to take over the whole project, to finally let Lasse rest. It seemed like a miracle. A helping hand reaching out from the digital void. But it wasn't a hand, it was a claw.
You see, this act of kindness wasn't a rescue. It was the first step in a diabolical 2.5-year conspiracy. This wasn't just a hack. This was the digital equivalent of a patient, meticulous plan to forge a master key that could unlock every secure door on the entire internet.
The ultimate target for our villain, Tan, was a program called OpenSSH. Just think of it as the internet's most trusted security guard. It's the protocol that lets administrators securely log into servers from anywhere in the world. It is one of the most hardened, most scrutinized pieces of software in existence. Attacking it directly would be suicide, so Tan didn't. Instead, this phantom targeted that humble, forgotten piece of plumbing maintained by the burnt-out volunteer. To bring down the castle, they would poison the water supply.
The plan that unfolded was a masterpiece of deception, a symphony of malice conducted in 3 movements. It was patient, it was brilliant, and it was utterly terrifying. First, build the perfect Trojan horse. Second, find the one fleeting moment to unleash its poison. And third, like a cat burglar in the night, get in, take everything, and vanish, leaving no footprints behind.
The genius of this first step was its sheer, breathtaking audacity. The malicious code wasn't hidden in the source code that programmers read. No, it was tucked away inside test files, these large, ugly blobs of binary data that are supposed to be meaningless junk, used only to make sure the program works. No human ever looks inside them. It's like hiding a dagger inside the stuffing of a teddy bear. It's the one place you are guaranteed no one will ever think to look.
Now, to hijack the system, the attacker needed to become a master forger. Every program has a kind of address book, a directory in its memory called the global offset table. When the security program needs to check a password, it looks up the password checker function in this directory and goes to that address. The attacker's goal was wickedly simple. Sneak into the directory office, find the entry for the real password checker, erase it, and write in the address of their own malicious code instead.
But this forgery had to be timed to absolute perfection. It was a true Goldilocks problem. If the attacker tried to change the address too early, the system's normal startup process would come along moments later and write the real address back in, erasing their work. But if they waited too long, a security feature would lock the entire directory, making it read-only, impossible to change. They had to strike in a microscopic, fleeting window of time, after the real address was written but before the door was bolted shut, a moment of pure, calculated vulnerability.
And finally, the escape. This was not a smash and grab, the backdoor was a ghost. Once it was active, it would only respond to its master, who held a unique, secret cryptographic key. It was a door that only opens to a secret knock. For everyone else, it remains a solid, invisible wall. And after letting its master in, it would meticulously wipe every log, every trace, every digital fingerprint, erasing any evidence that it had ever been there at all. It was the perfect, invisible crime.
So, the plan was flawless. The code was a work of dark art. The attack was ready. And it was only defeated by a half-second of lag and one very, very curious engineer. The weapon was disarmed, but the story leaves us with a chilling lesson about the world we live in, a world built not just on code, but on human trust. So who was Tan? The truth is, we will likely never know for sure. Tan was a ghost, but the clues left behind point to something far larger and more terrifying than a single hacker. You just look at the sheer patience, an operation that ran for over 2 years, the incredible technical sophistication, and the motive. This was not about money. This was about gaining a permanent secret key to the world's most sensitive computer systems. This has all the hallmarks of a well-funded, highly disciplined nation-state intelligence operation, a weapon of cyber warfare being silently placed on the digital battlefield.
But when you strip away all the code and the geopolitics, this is a human story. It's the story of Lasse Collin, a man who gave the world a gift for 20 years. And in return, we allowed his gift to be poisoned. We have built our digital civilization on the backs of people like Lasse, unpaid volunteers holding up the sky. We demand they work for free to secure our fortunes and our secrets. And then we're shocked when one of them finally burns out, and a predator steps into the void they leave behind. The vulnerability wasn't in the software. It was in us. It was in our exploitation of a good person's generosity.
And that leaves us with the final, terrifying question that should echo long after this is over. This entire plot, this near-perfect crime 2 years in the making, was discovered by a complete and utter accident, a fluke, a 1 in a billion chance. We dodged the bullet this time, but it forces us to ask, how many other Tans are out there, right now, patiently tending to their own little corners of the internet? How many other time bombs are ticking away, hidden deep inside the tools we use every single day, just waiting for the signal to detonate? We found the one we were never meant to find. What about all the ones we haven't? Go on a watch marathon of our playlist with friends or colleagues to become a cybersecurity expert. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like and share this video with someone you deeply care about to have a foolproof cyber defense.